Space, final frontier. These are the voyages of the starship Enterprise. Its 5-year mission, to explore strange new worlds, to seek out new life and new civilization, to boldly go where no man has gone before.
Greetings, salutations, and welcome to Retrek. I'm Captain Jim. With me, of course, is Admiral Elliot.
Hi there.
And this week, we're talking about a brand new Star Trek show. How many is that in the last couple of years? 1, 2, 3, fourth new Star Trek show.
Yeah.
In the last few years, not counting, what do you call it? We're not counting the short treks as a separate show.
No.
But yeah.
Discovery, Lower Decks, Picard, and now Prodigy.
Yeah. So brand new Star Trek.
It's doing well to say that the fandom menace swore blind that it was all over after Discovery Season 1.
Well, that's it. It's all finished, yeah. And what was Discovery Season 4 coming in a couple of weeks, so that's not panned out, but never mind. So yeah, Prodigy, the first Star Trek show aimed at children, it says, but I think this is completely accessible to everybody.
I think it's completely accessible, but you can tell it's written for a younger audience. Yeah, but it isn't dumbed down too much if you're not so everyone can enjoy it.
Yeah, I think they've got the balance really good. There's obviously we're gonna dig through the pilot episode as we go, so there's maybe a couple of areas we'll pick up on, but by and large, like you say, I think it's noticeable that it's written for a different audience, but that doesn't alienate an older audience.
No, which, like, it's a very difficult balancing act to do. Is that, like, I've seen a lot of online comparisons to the Clone Wars and Bad Batch, but they were actually pushing the envelope of what you could get away with PG.
Yeah, they certainly were.
But this is actually aimed at even younger than PG.
Yeah, I mean, certainly in like the later seasons of Clone Wars, some of the early ones, I think they had the moments where it was even more kiddified than this. But yeah, by and large, I mean, I think particularly with like the Bad Batch and stuff, that just feels like it's aimed at adults. Never mind.
Yeah.
But
mind you, to be fair, a lot of the audience of the Clone Wars are now Bad Batch. There would have been kids when it came out, and they've grown up now.
Well, absolutely. And I think, though, that's probably a good place for us to start, is the Star Wars comparison. Like, a lot of people, not just because of the Clone Wars, like the animation style, it's not as stylized, I don't think, as the Clone Wars, but a CG animated sci-fi show is gonna reference that. And there's a lot, I think, in this episode that's got a very Star Wars vibe to it.
There's a few things that have
and I think it's deliberate and it's inevitable in a way, because what this is showing us is it's the first Star Trek show where our main cast are not a Starfleet crew. And for 90% of this episode, they're not even on a Starfleet ship.
Yeah.
So that is going to be different. And it's a part of the galaxy. I know we've been in the Delta Quadrant. And I suppose if you look at Voyager, we've seen like prisons, and there was Tom and Harry always seem to get locked up every
they got in a couple of prisons. The whole crew got captured a few times. And
yeah, so we have seen things like this, and this idea of that there's a seedy underbelly to the Star Trek universe, which obviously Star Wars did that a lot more.
Well, we know that the Delta Quadrant is a lot more unruly than what we used to with the Alpha and Beta Quadrant with what we normally see.
Even the Gamma,
and even then with the Delta Quadrant, what we did see, we saw it very much from a Starfleet perspective.
Yeah, and we saw it just passing through. We didn't have a lot of time to get to know these different civilizations and see how they function and everything. But like, if you look at some of, particularly the more recent stuff, like we've recorded an episode that's not on the pod feed yet, but where we talked about the end of Enterprise and they went back to Rigel. And Rigel was always a bit of a sort of seedy kind of world where you've got outlaws and you've got traders and things like that. And we've seen that a few times. And then obviously in Discovery, we've got in the future that there was very much that sort of outlaw town vibe to the early episodes.
Yeah, like the Federation. Without the Federation, this is what happens.
Yeah, and I think this is playing on that, but it is something we're not mega familiar with in the Star Trek universe, and it does feel more like the Star Wars universe to an extent, because Star Wars, we've always had that, it's the Mos Eisley Cantina, it's Jabba the Hutt, and there's always been a much stronger focus on that. I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing that we're doing this in Star Trek.
Well,
I know some people felt it wasn't Star Trek-y enough, particularly in the first sort of movement of this episode.
Part one, I was trying to work it out, and I think part one ends where they have found the protostar, but they say that they need an engineer, and I think that's where part one ends.
Yeah, I thought it was when Zero turns up and says, what do we need to do, or something.
Yeah, it's somewhere around then.
It's around there. Yeah, so that first half is very much on this prison. Well, from all the trailers, we speculated, we said we thought it was like a mining colony, and it kind of is, but the on-screen text tells us straight away this is a prison colony.
Well, I don't think it's even a prison. I think it's a slave colony.
Yeah.
I got the vibe that, because when we saw, I assume it's a Catian, that young Catian that the Kazon brings in. Like, she's obviously not a prisoner with her age. That's someone who's been abducted and brought there and sold to them to work. That's like you say, like a prisoner implies that you're in prison for a crime that you've committed, whereas this seemed more like a slave outpost. And I've got it has been going around. I've seen a few people say it on the this last week. That these could be sort of like the children of the caretakers, caretakers brought over, because we know he'd been bringing ships from all over. Yeah, we do. And that would explain why we've got so many species that we're familiar with. Yeah, because we've got it's a Kazon that comes in. And we know that sort of by end of season 2, they'd gone past Kazon space. To be fair, though, we don't really know where in the Delta Quadrant this is set. But I think you've got to look at it as sort of we know that there was a range sort of the Kazon were they're not technologically advanced. They don't go obviously it's masses of systems, but it isn't huge amounts of space like the size of the Federation and things. No, that's true. But as I say, geographically, we don't know that we're not in Kazon space here. So, I'm thinking that we probably are in Kazon space. Yeah, or the borders of Kazon space, and it wasn't so much as Kazon space. It was an area of space the Kazon operated within. Yes, true. Yeah, they've not got the sort of organizational thing going on. They do. There's planets that are run by the Kazon, but they haven't got an empire. Yeah, but there's sort of like an area that they operate within. Yeah, it's not the same as when you say Kazon space. It's not the same as saying Klingon space or Romulan space. Absolutely. So let's have a look then at as we start to get to meet the characters. So we start off with Dal, who's our main character really for this episode.
And there seems to be a bit of a mystery about what is his species. Like, that's not.
Well, this is another reason I think it could be coming from the caretaker. Because, like, we know the caretaker was grabbing some from the Alpha Quadrant, but he's probably grabbing from all over the place, the Gamma Quadrant and other areas of the Delta Quadrant and far off of the Beta Quadrant that we don't see.
So yeah, we can either way. We know Dal's a species that we've not met, but it seems that he doesn't know what he is either. And this seems like this is going to be a thread that we're going to get. We do know that he wants to escape, and there's sort of this visual motif that they've got through the episode where you've got characters either looking up at ships or looking at the stars, and you see it reflected in their eyes and everything.
Yeah.
And I thought, like, it looks really good. Like, the whole thing looks incredible.
Oh, visually, it's beautiful.
Like, even if you compare this to, like, the early seasons of Clone Wars, or if you want to go back even further, like when Reboot came out, and that was, like, the first CG cartoon for kids, and it was horrendous in terms of the animation. And just the degree that we've come on now is incredible.
This is better animation than Clone Wars for CG animation. This is like it is top range, top level.
Yeah, definitely
CGI animation.
And then we've got the first villain we meet is Dreadnought, who I know you're not a tabletop gamer, but anyone who's played Warhammer 40k will recognize this guy as a Necron. And this is a Necron. I forget the exact name of the warriors. But basically they're exactly like this. Like, they've got spidery legs, they've got a robot upper body and everything. And it's a cool, scary image, but they might
this reminded me of General Grievous.
Yes, there's a lot of that.
Which a lot of people are saying. And you get it straight away as soon as you see him, like.
Yeah, there's definitely an archetype of evil spidery robots that we see across a lot of science fiction. And Dreadnought, we find out, is looking for Fugitive Zero, who we're told straight away is a Medusan. We knew that from the pre-publicity thing. But it's a Medusan that they've managed to look cute because it's put together a body for itself and everything. Yeah. A cute little robot, which is fine.
Well, you can see this changing through the series as well, because it's a suit that he's sort of made himself in this slave colony to operate in, to get around in. But now he's got access to other things. There's no reason for him not to upgrade it and
that's true.
Make it neater.
They're on a Federation ship, so get the replicator kicked into high gear, and you can knock up there. Could make an exocomp or something. I love the detail with the universal translators, like the fact that they don't enable translators in the prison, and that's exactly what you do if you were trying to exert control over all these species. You stop communicating with each other, so even if they were inclined to try and escape, they're not going to be able to coordinate it.
I think if you were prisoners, that even if you couldn't understand each other's language straight away, I think you'd learn fairly quickly some way of communicating with each other.
You develop something, yeah. But don't make it easy for them. So it's a step is turning off the translators. It was around this time in the episode, then this is one of my, and it is a nitpick, because we do have to bear in mind that this is aimed at a younger audience. Dal had a lot of like quips and things, like when they're escaping, he says, "Oh, don't let it get any worse," and then he says, "Oh, it's worse." And I get that he's, trying to be quippy and trying to be cool and everything. I just personally found it a little bit grating. I felt like it were trying a bit too hard.
Yeah.
But
these are the parts where I think you can really see that it's aimed at a younger audience.
That's it. Yeah, as a kid, I loved it.
Yeah, these are the parts that, yet, as an adult, we're looking at this and thinking, you don't need to be saying that. It's a bit obvious, but no, this is written for a younger audience. That's why he is saying these things, and we've got to enjoy it for what it is. And there's some of it that might be a bit OTT, and I'm sure over time it'll find its balance. Let's not forget, this is only episode 1 and 2.
Oh, no, absolutely.
No, as a pilot episode, we have seen a lot worse from Star Trek.
Oh, without question, yeah, absolutely. That's one thing with the modern Star Treks is they seem to be getting good at doing opening episodes.
Yeah,
because they really struggled with that back in the day. But yeah, so Dal's quipping. I get it. I get why it's there. I get what it's doing. It'll appeal to its. I think that's probably one area where some adults it might not work for, but like I say, it's part of the form. It is what it is. There is quite a cool. You do get a cool attempted escape sequence and everything, and there's a lovely shot where he tries to launch the vehicle, whatever it is, up in space, and you can see it getting closer to the atmosphere and not quite making it there, but visually it's brilliant.
Yeah, trying to escape in a truck.
Yeah, which you got to work with what you've got, haven't you?
Yeah.
Then we get all the stuff with the K's on, like you say, and we get a lot of background here. Like they've brought orphans from all over the quadrant, we'll assume.
Yeah,
they say orphans and they say criminals.
This is what makes me think that it's the offspring of like crews that have been brought over by the caretaker, and that had put them in Kazon operated territory.
Mm.
And some of these parents have probably been killed by them. The ship's taken, and the kids are being sold into slavery.
Yeah, so like you say, we've got on one hand there's criminals, so the Kazon might be going round to planets that are overpopulated, can't do anything with the criminal population, and saying I can take them to a prison world. That's fine. But then the other hand of it is, orphan kids, you are pretty much just enslaving children there for a labor class.
This is where we even get Gwen with this, don't we? And she says to the Kazon, if you ever bring one this young again, you'll be staying here.
Yeah, so there's an interesting thing there, because obviously her dad, who we only know as the Diviner so far, obviously he's not got a problem with this, because he even reprimands her for saying that.
Yeah.
And this sort of father-daughter relationship, it seems almost like he's testing her a little bit and giving her little bits of responsibility here and there. Like we find out that Dreadnought could be translating everything, but instead they're getting Gwyn to do it.
Yeah, and she has a knack for languages.
Yeah, which it's good that we're drawing these like abilities that each character has got, and we're establishing that quite early on. So we know that Gwyn's going to be the language person, and obviously we get the engineer and whatnot later on. The Diviner then. So we first meet Diviner, and this is where we go all Star Wars. I mean, he's in this big tank. He's floating around. It's very Darth Vader. It's very where the Admiral goes to see Darth Vader. He's in his little chamber. And also in Rogue One, where they go see him and he's floating around in a Bacta tank.
Yeah.
So I feel like it must be deliberate. There's no way you put this in a sci-fi show and don't think, hang on a second, this is Darth Vader.
Like people, like you can see it as, but like, I think you could probably look at anything now that's made and go, that's referencing that to an example. It's like when they're saying we're looking for Fugitive Zero, straight away I thought of Doctor Who in the first episodes of the Matt Smith era,
Oh,
Fugitive Zero.
yeah. No, that's a fair point. No, exactly. But I think there's some that are more obvious than others.
Yeah.
I think the Darth Vader imagery here, because it's all the thing that he's in's all orange and everything, and it looks like Mustafar, the planet where Darth Vader apparently lives and has a castle in Rogue One, but which Lego will sell you a castle. You can buy that, even though we've never seen it before. But never mind. So yeah, again, if you're gonna do a villain, there's worse ones to rip off than Darth Vader.
You've got to make them. If you sat round a table as writers and you're thinking, right, we need a villain that to a young audience is immediately recognisable as being a baddie and a proper baddie, evil baddie.
Mm-hmm.
And that's half the problem.
Yeah, and let's not kid ourselves either that the job of any TV program ultimately is to make some money. And this one has been set out. We want to get a younger audience into Star Trek. We know that the younger audience is already into Star Wars. So let's lean on that a little bit and put a bit of that in, and that'll get us young audience on side. So,
I have no problem with Star Trek borrowing from Star Wars, because George Lucas has been in interviews and quite honestly said that he learnt from Star Trek very heavily when he wrote Star Wars.
Oh yeah, so if you do a dissection of Star Wars, there's barely an original idea in there with all the. But what he did was he remixed it and did it in a way that was brilliant. So I'm not going to take that away from it.
And this is what happens with. There probably isn't an original idea to be had anymore with some of these.
Absolutely.
There obviously is original ideas, but they're very few and far between. Everything borrows from each other and references each other.
And like you said, that there's a reason they're doing this. It is to get many people on board, and
toys.
Well, the toys will be cool for this. Which coming next year, I think Playmates have got the rights back to Star Trek action figures, so we're probably going to get a load of Star Trek action figures next year, which I'm up for that. They did McFarlane toys of them, which McFarlane are known for doing really nice, really detailed toys. And the Star Trek ones were decent, but they weren't up to the quality of some of McFarlane's other stuff. So I'll be interested to see what the next lot's like anyway.
Yeah, I can see Murph being a big toy.
Yes,
I can see that. I can see that rivaling Baby Yoda.
Yeah, Murph definitely. What's the word? It's going back to Star Wars again. One of George Lucas's words is toyetic.
Yeah,
Murph's very toyetic. So, but despite the Darth Vader comparisons, I think we are obviously going to develop the Diviner, and we're going to find out what his actual game is, what he's up to. And I'm sure he will come out as his own individual character as we crack on. And he obviously knows about the Federation as well, because we've got him. He's saying, I don't want Gwyn to know about the Federation. I don't
want to expose to them.
Yeah, that's really interesting that he obviously knows what the Federation's ideals are. And I wonder could he know them because he's been in contact with Voyager at some point, or the Equinox even?
Voyager, the Equinox, there's obviously been a number of other ships that have gone through to the Delta Quadrant.
Yeah.
There's probably a whole list that we've not seen on screen of ships that have gone missing, presumed destroyed in X, Y, or Z, that have actually the caretakers sucked up. Yeah,
that's true. So it'll be interesting to see a bit more about what he knows about the Federation and why he doesn't like it. I mean, we can infer from the fact that he's running a slave/prison colony. Yeah, I can see why someone like that wouldn't like the Federation.
Yeah.
that's not
I don't think Federation ideals would actually fit in very well there.
No, so I can see that, and he obviously wants to keep his daughter within his world. And
well, that's mentioned, isn't it? That they're the last two of the species.
I missed that. Right.
Yeah, I've seen that. I'm not sure if I've seen it referenced online, or I think it might be referenced online, but they're meant to be the last two of the species.
Right. And then we start to get the characters coming together then. So Dal's in a prison cell. He speaks to someone that we later find out is Zero, and then goes to speak to Gwyn. And this was something I thought wasn't necessarily that clear in the episode, is how well do Dal and Gwyn know each other? Because this scene, it looks like they're aware of each other, but there isn't necessarily a fondness or even a friendship there. But then later scenes, like when he's out on the mining outside, it's clear that they do know each other quite well, to the point that they have these back and forth conversations with each other.
Yeah, like I think he's got memory. You don't know how long he's been in this slave colony, but you get the impression he's probably been there quite a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And he knows his way around, because that's implied, isn't it? That you need to get yourself there, you'll find a way. So he knows his way around. So you've got to assume he's been there a long time. But he also knows what outside of this prison colony is like. He has memories of it and wants to get back. And Gwen hasn't been off this colony.
No,
she doesn't know what the stars are like, or
and there's all, like he says to her repeatedly, like, you've always wanted to see the stars. So there's obviously a background between these characters. I just don't think necessarily the way the episode's structured that comes across in the way you would expect it to. Like later on, when she's speaking to him over the intercom thing, I'm like, oh, they're actually good mates, right? I didn't get the feel
I wasn't sure if I got the thing that they were mates, but I got the impression that they talk to each other.
I think it's just, it just feels like there's more of a familiarity than we're led to believe, and it just seems strange how it's structured. Well, that we could have dropped a bit more. She's
obviously a young girl herself.
Yeah.
So she's probably, as she's developing, looking for people to talk to and finding it very hard. And if he'll talk to her, he might not consider her a friend, but she might consider him a friend.
That's true. Yeah,
because it's that prisoner guard sort of captor sort of relationship they've got, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I do accept it. It's just, I just thought it was structured a little bit weirdly.
Yeah.
When they send him down to deep core mining, then there's a lovely detail that this is what I think you can do even with a show aimed at kids, is you've got the bit where it's got these little safety videos and it's saying, you fall off, you're dead. You do this, you're dead. And then it shows, look, you need these ankle.
Yeah, we're chaining you together in a chain gang, but it's for your own protection, honestly.
That's the thing. It shows, it's for your own protection. And I could imagine a kid watching it and accepting that. But as an adult, you watch it and go, well, wait a minute. If one of them falls, they're going to pull the other one over.
Well, I was thinking, like, Dal ends up chained to Rock Talk.
Yeah.
If Dal falls over a cliff edge, fine. But if Rock Talk goes over, he ain't got a chance. He's going.
That's it. But the video makes it look like, as long as you chain together, you're fine if one of them falls. And I think there's a deliberate irony there for the adults to pick up and go, right, I can see that.
But it's also you're also being told, it's okay to be in a chain gang, to be chained up.
This is the captors bullshitting them, and we can pick up on that. Kids might not. So I think that's really well done. And I like Rock Tack. Rock Tack's very toyetic as well.
Yeah, I like the thing I liked with Rock Talk was how it's the really gravelly, fierce sort of growls and all that until the translator comes on.
Yeah, and
I just thought that was a great way of that's what this is how she actually sounds, really, but when it goes through the translator, it takes into account her age and everything, which I thought was really clever.
Yeah, and it's really frightening to everybody else, but then she's actually really friendly. So yeah, that's really well done. And they get to the ship, obviously, the translator kicks in, and that gives these characters an advantage over everyone else on the colony now, because they can actually speak to each other and they can actually coordinate a little bit. I think the ship looks great. In terms of like the exterior design, it's obviously heavily influenced by Voyager, but it also looks a little bit sleeker, a little bit more modern. There's almost like a Kelvin universe influence, particularly to the
Kelvin universe with the nacelles, how thick the nacelles are. Which I don't mind it having the thick nacelles, because I think Discovery's thin, long nacelles were getting a bit silly.
Yeah, we've got the two extremes there, really.
Yeah.
And again, I'm sure people will complain and say, this is the Prime universe, it's not the Kelvin. Or there'll be theories saying, this proves it's in the Kelvin universe, so it don't count.
Well, people are saying that with the music and all that. All the music sounds like JJ's films, and
yeah,
I thought you could hear a bit of all the different.
I thought so, yeah.
Different things, and I thought it was sort of like, no, it's all. I thought the music did a really good job of saying it's all Star Trek.
Yeah, and this is the thing. Like, what you've got to remember as well is this is an animation and it's stylized, so the ship might look like it's got really thick nacelles, but if we saw that ship in live action, it might not look exactly like that. This is just a different presentation. Like, look like lower decks.
If round 2 get the act together, we could see a protostar on the shelves in maybe 12 months. Because they're pretty good with the Discovery and the Shenzhou and the Disco Prize they had out, all within 12 months. So
Eagle Moss have got a Cerritos that's just gone on pre-order now. So yeah, they're definitely all catching up. So like you said, this is probably whereabouts we get the break. If we were splitting this down into 2 episodes, it's most likely around here somewhere.
Yeah, I'm sure once it goes on to Nickelodeon or whatever, that you'll be able to see it as episode 1 and episode 2.
Repeating it daily,
but like it is definitely down that. Tomorrow's episode is episode 3.
Yeah, so yeah, it's definitely. But it works as one segment.
Yeah, it does. It's seamless. You can tell where it is, and half of that is by looking at the timestamp.
Yes, I did when I saw the bit where Zero turns up.
I
thought, and I checked it. And it was about 22 minutes. So yeah, we get a bit of a flashback to Zero then, and this is quite dark, really. That they used Zero as a weapon, effectively.
Yeah. I thought it was nice that Zero was in the same case that we'd seen in, what's the TOS episode?
Is There in Truth No Beauty, is it?
That's it, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was really nice that it was the same style case.
Yeah, so that was
traveling around
really good callback. And also, we've got one of Morn's species there as well.
Yeah.
Which is a victim of this. So that again adds credence to the idea that are these people who were brought by the caretaker, or are they children of the people who were brought by the caretaker?
Yeah.
Or is there something else entirely going on?
Well, it could be like, I've got a theory with the protostar, because like you got the impression that the crew wasn't lost from the protostar. The protostar was sent without a crew.
Yeah.
And I wonder if it's been sent to try find sort of missing Federation citizens. And
yeah, it could be. Because the way the Janeway hologram talks is as if they were expecting someone not of the Federation to find it.
Yeah.
So it'll definitely be interesting. And I saw an interview with the writers of it, and they said, obviously that the mystery of where the ship came from is the big mystery for the first season. So we're gonna get answers to it, just not necessarily immediately. There's a nice bit where Zero's saying, "Oh, you need 40 people, or depending on how many appendages you've got, you need 37 appendages." Which
now,
makes you
that implies that Zero knows of sentient beings with 37 appendages.
Yeah. And it also, because it's an odd number, it means that somebody's not having to use both hands on one of the stations somewhere. Somebody's getting away with just
whoever's using the joystick.
There you go. You're right. Yeah, Riker could have got away with it.
Yeah,
exactly. One-handed.
Or Ransom.
Or Ransom. Yeah.
It's not just the Riker stick anymore, is it?
Not anymore, no. There you go.
They took it away from him.
Yeah, it's one thing that he had. Bless him. And then they need the engineer, so we get Jank and Pog, who we did meet earlier in the episode. But just before we get into like what we think of Jank and Pog and everything, just visually, Jank and Pog looks like Bebop from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles before he got mutated.
Yeah.
He's got the little tuft of sort of purpley hair, and the glasses are exactly the same. And then obviously Bebop gets turned into a wild boar, mutated with a wild boar anyway. And what is it? I've forgotten the name of the species for a second. A Tellarite. Then they've got a piggy kind of look to them.
Yeah.
So I feel like somebody must be a fan of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles who's worked on the animation here.
I have no problem. I recognise them as the Tellarite, and everyone recognised them. Everyone recognised them as Tellarite when we saw the first shots before they even released any info. Everyone recognised him as the Tellarite. So if he looks like Bebop from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, maybe that's been stolen from Tellarites.
It could have been, yeah. I've never thought of it, but you never know. It could also be that Nickelodeon owns Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and if we're talking about being toyetic again, they've already got a mold for the Bebop toy. So
there you go.
to make a Jank and Pog. And we get that scene with Gwyn where she's showing the little cat baby all the different languages and how to work it out. So.
Yeah, and she said that when you understand the species language, you understand how they think, which makes a lot of sense. That's been referenced in other Star Trek shows.
Yes, definitely. And also the film Arrival from a couple of years ago really played with that concept. I won't go into any spoilers on it, but if you've not seen Arrival, check that out. That's a brilliant film. But that really digs into that idea. I do feel a bit bad for the cat baby that she ends up left on the planet when they go.
Yeah, I thought the cat baby was sort of like going to be a surprise of a character that we haven't. Because it'd be very easy with all the publicity stuff and all that not to have shown us a character.
Yeah. Maybe we need to leave a character there that we care about because she's cute and she's a baby, so we know that she's vulnerable and everything. So maybe we need a character to, even though our main cast are leaving this planet for now, maybe we need someone to keep our interest. So
maybe it's an opening for a future episode where Gwen insists that they go back to save her.
When they come back and save her, it'll be a good like crowd pleasing moment. So maybe that's why we're doing it. Dal's decided that he's the captain. Then there's a bit where Jank and Pog's doing all the work, and Dal's like just leaning back in the chair and supervising.
Yeah.
But then they do kind of turn that on its head later on, where they say, "Well, what do you do?" And he says, "Oh, I thought I were the captain." You know, he's almost like disappointed, like, "Why can't I be the captain?" And then we get introduced to Murph. So Rock turns up with Murph, and like you said, Murph I think is going to be very popular.
Yeah.
Makes funny noises, and you could probably sell like that. Slime's very in at the minute as a kid's toy. So
Yeah,
I mean, really
Murph
big.
Slime.
But yeah, you could get a Murph in a little bucket. You just need to. I can see that definitely. And then Gwyn turns up with the baddies, and they exile Dal to the surface, but the surface is called the Outer Rim,
Yeah.
which is another Star Wars thing. Like the Outer Rim of the Galaxy is a big. So that again, that's got to be deliberate. Like there are words that we use in sci-fi, and they crop up, and depending on which franchise you're in, they have slightly different meanings. Like the replicants that are mentioned in Blade Runner are not the same as the replicants that are mentioned in there's a DS9 episode.
And they're not the same as the replicators that we have in Stargate aren't the same as the replicators we have in Star Trek.
Exactly. So Outer Rim, again, it's a very well-known Star Wars phrase, so I'm sure they must have been conscious of it when they put that in. It feels more like a wink to it than anything else there. And this is when you get that bit where Dal's talking to Gwyn and everything, and he escapes again and leads all the baddies back to Zero. I just wondered is this maybe a little bit too much? Like, do we need to go through him getting captured, put up there, escaping again? It feels like maybe we could have condensed this a little bit.
Yeah, and it does seem like we find out that Gwen's actually orchestrated his escape, but it's been purely to track him down, knowing that he'd run back.
Yeah,
but it jumps very quickly from him, sort of like escaping to being back on the Protostar.
Yeah, it does.
There's a jump there.
Yeah, and it just feels a little bit bitty in terms.
They probably didn't need to. There could have been another way, a better way to get him going back to the Protostar.
Yeah, and it just feels like. So in the course of, I know technically it's 2 episodes, but to all intents and purposes, in the course of 1 episode, we've had Dal getting caught, escaping, or he starts off with a big escape attempt, then he gets caught, then he speaks to Gwyn, he gets sent back, he gets caught again, he gets sent somewhere else, and it's, okay, are we maybe doing that a little bit too much?
Yeah.
It's not a deal breaker for me, it just feels a little bit...
Yeah,
a little bit redundant.
I think this is probably the one part of the episode, like, it looks quite cool, and like when he's panicking, like people never come back from being sent outside and all that to the surface. Like you can see the panic in him, but the pacing of it's wrong. It just seemed wrong. Yeah. It seemed off. This one little bit of it seemed off.
Yeah, we don't sort of sit with it long enough to like like you say, they talk about it's dangerous, people never come back and all this, but we don't really get to see that because it's that quick.
Yeah, it's over with so fast.
So it negates a bit of that. It's like, oh, it's that dangerous, is it? That he just gets away. Fair enough. But having said that, it leads us to where we start wrapping up and we get some great action and everything. There's a really nice bit where Dal's trying to send a message to Zero, and Zero says, "Oh, he's trying to encourage it by using his face."
Yeah, he's sending me a telepathic message, but I don't like his plans, so I'm ignoring him.
Yeah, and he's giving it all this that's really good fun. And then they get into a big fight and everything, and Gwyn has this. It almost looks like a tattoo on her arm, but it's not. It sort of morphs down into a weapon.
Yeah.
And then when she's fighting, she needs to change hands. It sort of rolls back up and goes down the other arm and stuff. That's a pretty cool weapon. I'm happy with that.
Yeah,
That's,
I don't
again,
mind. I
that's
don't
quite
mind this.
toyetic. You could get.
Yeah, I don't mind these where things like where they're going to have metal changing shapes. I've no problem with that. We've seen that in like it's
Maybe
very
it's
Terminator 2, isn't it?
Oh yeah.
But I
Maybe it's the start
haven't a
of the
problem with
program.
it.
That's it.
Well, that's it.
No,
Like
this
they
could be
talk
where they
about
discover
nanobots and stuff. So
Oh yeah. No, I think it's pretty cool. I think it's pretty. Is it toyetic though? Because we can't make metal that changes its shape, so we're not going to be able to make a Gwyn sword that can do that.
yeah, but they're probably going to be able to make an arm bracelet for kids that'll have an extending sword in it.
Yep. Yeah. Fair enough. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, I can see the toy makers being able to do something with that.
And the cosplayers will have a really good time with it as well. So we'll see some Gwyn arm things. Let us know if you think you can make a Gwyn arm sword. We want to see your best efforts and everything. Let us know how you get on with that. There's a lovely shot where the ship comes through the waterfall.
Yeah,
and you get a really sort of heroic scene where the ship comes through and all the other prisoners are cheering.
Cheering because like Dal's on the outside trying to fix the shields at this time.
Yeah, because they don't need a captain in the chair at this point, but they do need someone to go and
like Zero's being able to work out some of the controls. Like I don't even know. I think Zero's a child as well.
Yeah, quite possibly.
I don't think any of them are adults in this crew.
No, it doesn't seem that way, and that would be in keeping with the vibe that they're going for.
Yeah, and that'd explain why Zero's obviously an intelligent species.
Yeah,
and all that, but doesn't know how to operate this machinery.
Yeah, exactly. And I wondered if Murph, is this how we solve the problem of not having 37 appendages? Because Murph can sort of blob over everything.
Well, that's what he does. They go, press every button there is, and he just...
Yeah, there you go. We don't need 37 appendages if we've got a Murph who can just cover a lot of ground in one go.
But like we get the whole thing, don't we, with Dal on the outside of the ship. And like, if this was for adults, I'd go, no way. But this is made for kids, so I'm gonna suspend reality. Like when the ship's spinning round and all that, and Dal's on the outside of it still.
And it's one of those you can get away with it in animation. It'd look, like you say, quite unbelievable if we'd done this in live action. So.
Yeah, and I think we'd even sort of not go along with it in lower decks either.
Yeah.
To this extent, but as we're in the mindset, this is a kids show.
Yeah,
you can suspend belief for that little bit more.
You can, and I mean to the extent that I didn't even think of that until you just said it now. You know,
like we do get some of it where it's thrown to the sides and all that, but we get a lot of it where no, you'd be thrown off this spaceship.
Yeah.
You've got nothing to hold you on.
Yes, he's not even got.
It's not got magnetic boots or anything.
The shields, then, when he gets the shields to kick in, this is a little bit different to how we usually see shields in Star Trek, because up until now, it's always been a bubble round the ship, like an ovoid bubble.
Yeah.
Whereas in this, it seems to just hug the ship. It only seems to cover the extremities of the ship. Like we see a bit where the baddie bounces off the nacelles and the shield's just covering the nacelle. I thought that was pretty cool, actually. You know,
I liked it.
I don't have a problem with it. It makes a lot of sense to do it that way. We'll have to keep an eye on it though. See if they do the extending the shield trick in future. So that might be hard.
Here's the chance that they've only just got the shields on, so they may be just at minimum.
Yeah, it's lucky though that it gave a couple of foot so that the shield didn't come on and cut Dal in half. But
that was very lucky, how high it gave you off the deck. But it was enough to throw what was his name? The robot.
Something.
Yeah.
I've got it in my notes. Dreadnought.
Yeah. Yeah, it was enough to throw him off, but not enough to cut Dal in half.
Yeah, which is, bit of luck. Maybe he's from a lucky And yeah, obviously, like we said, they leave the cat baby, but hopefully we're going to come back and rescue her at some point.
Do get the nice part where we need to find the torpedoes, find the phasers or something to get us out of here.
Yeah.
Find the pew, pew, pew.
Pew, pew, pew.
Which, I like the phasers on the Protostar.
Yeah.
And this is showing a bit of a step up from Voyager and that period, because we had the Next Gen Enterprise, Enterprise D, Voyager, and the Enterprise E had their phaser strips. So there'd be a huge long phaser strip, and it'd fire from any one point on it.
Yeah.
But this seems to have a lot of different phaser turrets on the strip, so it can fire in multiple directions from that strip at once, instead of just one blast. So
that probably tells us it's going to be quite a handy ship. Then it's obviously built for a bit of.
Well, it's 5 years after Voyager. It's after the Dominion War as well, and they've probably thought, these phaser strips are great that they can bang a big power punch out. But when you've got lots of craft coming at you from various directions, only being able to fire at once is one direction at a time isn't great.
No, and that's
because this thing seemed to have shots going out all over the place at the same time.
Yeah, I mean that does make sense. That this was built by a post Dominion War, post Second Borg invasion Federation, so they probably do want the ships to be a little bit handier. And then obviously we get the reveal of Janeway. Now, I do think it was a good idea to do this episode and save Janeway for the end, because
it was perfect.
It's given us a chance to get to know these characters before.
Yeah, it's given us a chance to get to know the characters. It's given us a chance to see that the characters are capable to an extent and could get out of a situation without Janeway being there to do it or help them or guide them.
Yeah, that's it. Janeway, she can come in now and mold them, but we've seen that the potential's already there.
Yeah. I thought when we got Janeway, I thought great, and then it was, it's just about to end.
Yeah,
and then I thought, actually, that's perfect.
Yeah,
to bring her in earlier in the story.
And it's a great hook for next week, because it's next week we're going to get
straight into Janeway,
but we already know these characters, so I think that's going to be really, really, really good. Then that's not quite the end, because we do get this stinger scene where the bad guys come out of his Darth Vader tank now, and it looks like he's going to be stepping it up. He wants to get the ship back.
Yeah, finding my ship.
That's what he's been looking for on this planet. So he's been mining all this stuff, which we've got to assume this is valuable in some way.
There's obviously a value there, because when we saw Dal, when they'd first found the Protostar, he was getting around it, and he had all these crystals.
Yeah.
When that's enough to buy yourself a ticket onto the Kazon ship, to buy yourself off.
Yeah, and they pay the Kazon with it. So that's obviously, there's a benefit.
Whatever the crystal is, it's obviously got a value.
Yeah. So there's a benefit.
It's probably dilithium. Voyager would have loved to have found this planet.
Yes. And yeah, well, I suppose in 1,000 years, this planet won't look so good after the burn and everything, but you don't have to worry about that just yet. But yeah, there would obviously be a benefit in mining this planet anyway, but his actual agenda is to find the ship.
Yeah.
Now that's gone. So we've set up what the main conflict, presumably, of the season is going to be, that we've got this guy who's good. He's going to be chasing them. We've got the connection, obviously. Gwyn's his daughter. So there's going to be,
like Gwyn hasn't gone. Gwyn has gone as a prisoner. She's tied up at this point still, at the end of it.
Yeah, exactly.
But I got the impression with Gwen that she's his daughter. Yes, she was helping run the prison. But you can see that she has a longing to be out there and not be doing what. And I don't think she's actually happy. I think she's doing as much as she's got to do on the planet.
Yeah, and she's clearly a more compassionate character than he is. So that'll be interesting to see how she develops and how she fits in with the rest of them. So the end, then, we've got a lot of interesting character dynamics set up. We've got the promise of more Janeway next week, maybe find out a bit about the ship, how it got there. We've got a bad guy set up. So it's done a lot of good work for a pilot episode.
Yeah.
I just hope it doesn't do a Voyager and we forget about all of it next week. But
I think they've learnt the lessons from the past.
They have. Absolutely.
There's obviously going to be an ongoing story. And I wonder if they're going to follow that sort of Clone Wars format where 3 or 4 episodes are a story arc.
I wouldn't be surprised, yeah.
Like, there's going to be an ongoing... There's going to be an overall story, but that you could probably sit down and watch an episode on its own, which you can with the Clone Wars.
Yeah.
But there's also... If you watch 4 of them together, it works better.
Yeah.
And then if you watch the whole season, it works even
better,
but you can watch them all. And if they get that right, that'll be...
I'm sure that's probably what they're going for, but we'll get a much better idea of that next week with, we'll call it episode 3 since...
it is. It's definitely down as being episode 3. And this is also released as being parts 1 and 2.
Yeah. So we'll cover that next week. We'll also carry on with the Dominion War, going back to that. We've had a bit of a break from it while we did...
we've got 2 episodes.
Well, we've got
2 weeks, haven't we, where it's Prodigy and we're going to do a Dominion War.
Yeah, so we're going to cover, over the next couple of weeks, we're going to cover Improbable Cause and the Dyer's Cast, the season 3 2-parter. So that's going to be good fun. And we'll continue covering Prodigy until we hit Discovery, and then we're going to be having some bumper episodes where we talk about Prodigy and Discovery. So that's
2 new Trek shows a week.
Exactly. We had
did that happen during Voyager and DS9 run?
Yeah, Voyager and DS9 crossed over for a while. So we're talking a lot of years since we've had this going on. So yeah, that's
and good news. We didn't have Chakotay in the first 2 episodes at all. No, so that means IMDb was wrong. It's not in all 10.
Nope. So hopefully...
And I've heard rumours that it's only going to be in episode 5.
Right, I'm happy with that. If he's just in one of them, that's absolutely fine.
So my theory still could hold true that he's responsible for you losing the Protostar.
Wouldn't surprise me in the slightest. So, yeah, if you want to get in touch with us in the meantime, then let us know what you thought about Prodigy. We're on Twitter at RetrekPod. You can email us retrekpod@gmail.com, or you can come and join us on the Facebook group. And thanks for trekking with us this time. We will see you next time on the Retrek.
Thank you. Bye-bye.